Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. For the next one, I am proud and grateful to introduce to you the champion of MEPTA System 2025, which is Miho Yamashita, Eowina Hermawan, and Marcos Leong. And I think you already saw their profile on our Instagram as well. Maybe you can click the next slide. Yeah, basically they are talking about how in Jakarta, Indonesia, we are experiencing super different water crisis, but are actually interconnected. We already heard about Jakarta sinking, right? But also at the same time, Jakarta is also in experiencing a water crisis, and I'm actually super curious to share them present their case. So without further ado, a time and place is yours.
Hello, thank you so much for introducing us. Uh, Marcus, Wina, are you there? Yeah, great.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Miho Yamashita, and as mentioned, I am currently a sophomore at Wesleyan University.
Hi, I'm Marcus. I am also a sophomore at Western University and I am from Singapore. Rena?
Hi everyone, it's nice to see all of you. I'm Lena. I'm from Jakarta and I'm also a sophomore at Wesleyan. And we will be talking about how we use systems thinking to frame Jakarta's water crisis. Could
Amazing.
you
Now, I
present
will
the slide?
share a presentation. Uh, Let me see. Hmm.
Or
So I
maybe do you,
think,
yeah,
I wonder
okay.
if can you guys see the presentation?
yes.
Yep,
Okay, we will get started then.
amazing. So firstly, why we chose this issue was due to its urgency, because Jakarta is known as the fastest sinking city in the world, and the fact that it is also a thirsty metropolis without drinkable water. Due to my lived experience in Jakarta itself, I was able to hear a lot about this growing up, but I never really delved deeper into it. So we thought it was definitely an interesting and complex topic um, to research more upon, use systems thinking to frame it. And also, the amount of literature surrounding this topic was definitely a lot to formulate our own research on it, especially since 1 in 3 Jakartans do not have access to piped water. And with all these statistics in mind, it was definitely baffling to really understand how this system worked. And this is our challenge landscape where we saw how different root causes led to perpetuating factors. Like, for example, how fragmented city design due to colonial history led to unchecked emphasis on economic growth, which caused land subsidence, which basically just means how land was sinking due to the concrete buildings, which Marcus will talk a little more about.
Yeah, so one of the root causes we identified was the unchecked emphasis on economic growth that the government took on. So we understand that the government pursues it in order to provide a better standard of living for residents, but there is a cost when the demand for growth pushes Jakarta beyond this thing called the ecological ceiling. So one way the government pursues growth is through urbanization, where this means permeable soil, the natural soil, is being replaced by concrete. And this prevents groundwater from recharging back into the earth. And so, along with the weighing down of the many heavy buildings Jakarta has, this leads to more sinking. And so, along with poor pipe water distribution, there is a reliance on groundwater. So people will extract groundwater in order to have water to use. And this leads to over extraction. And as you can see in this diagram, it eventually causes the land to sink as well. And subsequently, floodings will occur. And to reduce floods, the government builds seawalls. But this itself worsens the floods because there is a bowl effect where the walls are being built higher and higher, but then the land within the walls are sinking. So it's like a bowl, and the root causes are not actually being addressed. So then we wanted to think about why is this even a solution if it is only effective in the short run? So it is actually because economic growth, seawall projects are a means to attract investments from foreign countries or companies. And so maybe the government thinks that with more growth now, we will be able to afford to fix our problems in the future. But all this really does is it leads to even more concretization. People have less awareness of the root causes because they feel like with the seawalls, it's not really an issue. And eventually a mindset that it's too late sinks in because Jakarta just keeps sinking and there's more and more flooding. And so maybe the government just thinks we should just pursue economic growth instead of resolving the issues. And so this is one of our loops of the root causes.
Thank you, Marcus. Now I will introduce another causal loop, this time focusing on more external influences. So Jakarta's or Indonesian government's over-reliance on foreign investments is one of the factors perpetuating this water crisis. Let me explain. So while economic investments are especially important for countries to boost their economic presence, it also creates a pressure to align with other self-interests. So during the Cold War, the US intervened heavily in the Indonesian government's external policies to place it under capitalistic influence and away from communism. So this destabilized the Indonesian economy. In addition, as of now, China is investing heavily into Jakarta's infrastructure, like building high-speed railways. But this also aggravates urbanization and reduces green spaces, so leading to more eroding and flooding, as Marcus explained previously. Now, we must also note that all of these interventions lack public funds and technical knowledge, and they just ignore the citizens' water needs. There's also been evidence of corruption and underperforming projects. So even though so much money is being poured into the Indonesian government, it's not being put to sustainable use. And due to this financial unsustainability, this loop continues on because Indonesia's financial autonomy is reduced and it has to rely even more on foreign investments. Now, let's move on to go through some of the systems maps we created. I believe James and Sarah already explained all of these concepts, but we have a systems map, a stakeholders map, in which we mapped out all of the important stakeholders, for example, NGOs, the government, and most of all, the Jakartan citizens. We also have an iceberg model in which we see how the multiple layers of events overlap each other to create a culminative effect. We've also analyzed existing solutions using the many literature and the interviews that Lena just talked about. We'll skip that because it's a lot. And now we would like to give you a few very quick examples of the gaps and levers of change that we created. Marcus and Lena, would you guys want to explain this?
So for the first point, for the challenge, there is a dependency on groundwater due to the fact that only 1 in 3 people have access to pipe water. which means the rest will have to depend on groundwater just to fulfill their day-to-day water needs. And a level of change that we saw locally was rainwater harvesting, especially in um, mosques, where they were using rainwater harvesting for ablution and also other techniques, water stewardship techniques to really make an impact for temporary relief and having like an alternative source other than just using groundwater, which makes the ground sink more.
Yeah, and for our second challenge that we observed was that although Jakarta is the capital, um, we saw that they still struggle a lot with water distribution, which we did cover in one of our points that we didn't cover here, but it was probably due to the way the city is designed, given the colonial history. But we saw in other cities like Surabaya where the water distribution was done much better, and we felt that perhaps with a public-public partnership, so perhaps the government of Jakarta can work together with Surabaya to learn from their successes to implement what Surabaya has done in Jakarta.
Amazing, thank you. So we very basically rushed through the presentation we gave at Oxford University. Uh, this is in no means comprehensive, and I apologize if you couldn't catch all of the factors or the factual details. If you are interested and would like to read our full presentation and the paper we submitted, it is available on the Map the System competition website. And after I finish sharing the screen, I'll share the link with you. So yeah, now that we've gone through our case studies, we would also like to mention a few things we considered in actually conducting this project as a short-term collaborative work. So, Marcus, Lena, would you guys like to talk about it?
So for the length of this, we really struggled on deciding on a topic that was both complex and we somewhat had personal experience to tie us all back into it somehow. And we eventually, after 3 weeks into it, we decided on this crisis due to what I mentioned earlier in the beginning, due to the amount of literature and research that was administered, like in general. And there were a lot of papers on this topic. And the fact that I had personal lived experience in groundwater extracting, which is fairly common in Jakarta. And more on the in-depth research, we took around 2 months or more to be able to like read these papers, use this data, and conduct interviews on people who live in places in vulnerable areas in Jakarta, like North Jakarta, because there's an estimation that 95% of North Jakarta will be sunken in 2050. And we try to sum it all up into visualizations and loops like the one that you saw, and also to create a research write-up that will be sent in the chat in a few.
Marcus, would you have any advice for future Map the System researchers?
Yeah, I think like the first point is to iterate. As you do your research, I think you'll see new perspectives and find new information that can change your mind on things. So I think your first iteration of your understanding of the system can always change. And so always be open to how you might view things differently. Um, Weena?
And then the second point, talking to different stakeholders and people who understand or experience the problem, especially when if you're choosing a problem where you're on the outside looking in, it's always so much it's a very much great resource for you to find someone who is going through that problem so you can understand the system more. And just like James and Sarah have mentioned, like you can never really understand the system because of its complexities, but you can always try to find like the you can always find your understanding that is closest to the truth. And in that sense, you want to talk to different people to be able to acknowledge your different biases and your perspectives. And when you're talking to different people, it always like challenges your biases and your preconceived notions. And it allows more collaboration across disciplines. So you will be able to um, possibly see how comprehensive and interdependent all these factors hold through.
Yeah, thank
So
you,
yeah,
Rina. Just to emphasize this collaborative aspect across disciplines, sectors, and different fields. Let me go back to this, not this one, I'm sorry, this entire systems map. So as you can see, there are so many factors involved in systems mapping. So for example, I am a big social sciences person, and I personally focused on looking into Jakarta's history and the marks colonial history left on Jakarta's urban landscapes. But of course, history is not enough to fully perceive the issues. So we also took a look at more heavier and science-oriented perspectives, like looking at the infrastructure and how groundwater extraction works. So I think this mind map alone really exemplifies how broad any problem is. And so you would need to collaborate with anyone you can to garner different perspectives and different knowledges. So, and if I maybe add, I think this also proves that this is systems mapping is really hard to accomplish alone. So please don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it be your peers, your professors, or anyone who you think might be helpful to you. Yeah. Marcus, Rina, do you guys have anything to add?
That's it from me, I think.
that's it for me.
Yes. So this was very, very fast. I apologize. And if you guys have any questions about how our presentation at Oxford went or how we constructed a storyline to fit in our presentation, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you so much, Miho, Marcus, and Mina. For anybody here, if you want to ask directly, you can go ahead and raise your hand. But in the meantime, I think you can also share screen the link because we have some questions here. The first one, the most upvoted one. This person said, I see Jakarta sinking water scarcity boils down to class. The rich are building concrete skyscraper while the poor can drink water. Am I simplifying this too much? Yeah, do you want to answer it directly?
Wow, that is a great and obviously a correct and sharp observation. Because of course, class structure plays a big part in this problem. But if I may share my screen again. Oh, do you think you could close the screen for now? Thank you so much. The observation you just made about the class structure, how the rich are building skyscrapers while the poor are suffering, is the top layer of this iceberg model. So the events that we perceive. And it's really easy to be caught up in the events that we see. And it is important to be empathetic with the actual people who are suffering now, because that should be our focus. But at the same time, if we delve deeper into the lower parts of the iceberg where it's much harder to see, we realize that there's global transnational patterns of investments, and there's more historical factors like the history of colonization I mentioned. So I totally agree with your observation, and I think uh, correctly understanding the current events that is happening is a great gateway into digging deeper and deeper into this iceberg model.
I can also just read out the question. Um, they were asking, what was the biggest challenge for you when mapping this problem? I think one of the biggest challenges was definitely to sum it all up together into one single write-up, and that is the link that Marcus has shared in the chat. And it took us the longest time because we were um, reiterating our understanding of the issue, and we kept changing a lot. And and because of that, I think that was what made it very time consuming, and also very necessary to be able to really capture the problem in the correct and most accurate frame, I think.
I think another challenge we had was getting the perspective of the government. A lot of it, a lot
That's
of it was
true.
through like interviews that we found online. We did want to ambitiously be able to like speak to someone who had more perspective on it. I remember activating LinkedIn Premium to contact like a consultant for the government, but I got ghosted. But yeah, I think that was tough to be able to understand the perspective the government had when implementing policies. So a lot of it, we wish we could have had more concrete um, information, but a lot of it was from press releases or interviews.
Can you explain
Um,
more
yeah.
about the difference between perpetuating versus root factors? So we'd like to see it as that root factors are the cause of the problem, and perpetuating means like it causes the root factor to go on and on a long time. And if we could go back to our slide that shows that, um, I'm pretty sure um, the bottom of our slide had, let me reference that. The bottom of our slide had fragmented city design due to colonial history as a root cause. And we saw that the perpetuating factors that caused this to go to cause the issue to go on and on was due to inefficiencies in water management. And that sort of like creates a loop and causes the issue to persist. When framing your systems map, were there parts that you thought was important but had to leave out to stay focused on your issue? We definitely had a lot of changes to our original systems map because we kept thinking that we kept bringing more into it, which because we due to our the amount of research we did and the amount of collaborative work that we put into it, we had different perspectives on how the map was supposed to look like, what it should consist of. And yeah, definitely working in a team, we were able to use our different perspectives to be able to create a simple but also somewhat comprehensive understanding of the issue. So I think we did have to leave stuff out to stay focused.
Yeah, I
But
think
at the same time, yeah.
sorry, at the start, I think we had a lot of technical
Mhm.
points, like the geological information, like why they're sinking or like how it works. but we realized I think it was a lot more interesting to unpack like the history or the socio-political aspects of the issue. And so I think we replaced the more technical information with what was more relevant to like the system, a system. Miho, anything to add?
Yeah, we also adding on to what Mark was saying about what makes a project sound interesting. We really did take into consideration what would be appealing to the specific competition we entered. So we looked at the past participants and their presentations, as well as thinking what kind of story would people be able to empathize with. So in the end, we constructed a storyline detailing how how so many people in Jakarta are able to access clean water while being at the risk of flooding. And I think adding a personal touch really helped to enhance our presentation. So if you guys are also thinking of doing like an entrepreneurship project pro or a proposal to something, it would be helpful to consider the scopes of that particular platform and what the judges or what the evaluators may be looking for. Okay, so there's 2 minutes. Any final questions? Let's see.
IKN.
Oh,
Is that
The
Nusantara?
new capital, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was also a point we
mm,
kind of left out a
Yeah.
little. We didn't talk.
yes.
We did a fair amount of research into that too. But it was also, I think it links back to like how we didn't have concrete like perspective from the government. So a lot of like, I think we were kind of like guessing as well. Oh, maybe this is why the capital was moved, which is a fair point, I think. But uh, I think we wanted to say yes, this is like one of the results of the sinking. But I think without too much concrete evidence, we also didn't. That wasn't a main focus of our system.
Who did we
Y-
talk with to get deeper about this problem? But sorry,
yeah, Mina.
Do you have anything to say for the
Yeah,
previous question? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. We conducted interviews on people who lived in North Jakarta, and this is the area who is most vulnerable to sinking. And these were mostly people I grew up with, and people who were willing to do the interview. So definitely, it's very much a bubble of the people I know, and definitely like thinking about my positionality like as a student of this age and um, the people I grew up with, it's definitely very limited when you think about when we were conducting interviews because as Marcus mentioned, we weren't able to get any government perspectives or any other stakeholder perspectives other than the residents who were facing the issue. But other than that, it was definitely very resourceful to get to know more about the area they were living in and about some issues that I didn't know about and how that came up during the interviews. So it's
You
definitely still beneficial. Yeah.
you spoke to the NGO too now.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about that. I'm so sorry. But we did also talk to NGOs, a couple of them, and we were able to interview them for a while. And um, we understood how they made like community efforts and also tried to tackle other issues like the pollution that was in surface water bodies like rivers in Jakarta, and also how that led back to surface water pollution and inefficiencies in water management. But they were very like, they couldn't give a more comprehensive view of the problem because what they were doing was more towards like, no, it wasn't. Um, oh, oh, who asked Ika and was it fun? Okay, sorry. Anyways, sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, it didn't give us a comprehensive view of the whole issue because what they were doing was very specific to like pollution and things like that.
Okay, thank you so much for presenting your case. Thank you, Miho, Marcus, and Rina. And I think there are still like a couple of questions that haven't been answered yet. If it's okay with you, you can share your contact on the chat box. So if anybody here wanted to have a little discussion or ask further questions, they know where to reach you. But yeah, it's been super eye-opening, I think, to see this issue presented in system map, which is super new for all of us. But unfortunately, that's all the time that we have, and we have to move to the next speaker. So for Miho, Marcus, and Mina, if you have to leave this meeting, you are allowed to. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
so much.
Thank you so much for the questions.
Okay, next, Gita, maybe can you also share the profile for our next speaker? Okay, thank you. So, we have another champion of Map the System 2023. Um, Her name is Valencia, and then we also have Sun. We also have Sida here, but unfortunately, Valencia is not feeling well, and she is not. She cannot attend this webinar. But we have uh, Sun and Sida, are you ready to share?
Yes, I'm here. I can share the
Okay.
screen.
Okay. All
It's,
right. Yeah. Thank you
uh,
so much. So
no,
yeah.
thank you for having us. You see it with um not too good with technology. Wait,
It's visible. It's visible.
it's the, oh my God, what is it? Wait, okay, can you see it?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
visible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you again for having us and for the very kind introduction. Like San, I did map the system project on child marriage in Indonesia 3 years ago. I think in like 2022, 2023. Yeah. So I'll first introduce like okay why we choose this topic and then go through our project from the slide and then like discuss like some practical aspect of it, like the how long we take or how did we start, if that's okay. I think I already sent like the presentation link or something like YouTube, right? Uh, but you can look at that in your own time if you're interested. I don't want to force like everyone to watch it or something. So yeah, I'll start from like why do we choose this topic. So basically like at Wesleyan, we have student forum, which is like student run class for a semester. So we are in this class is like a 6 week class, like half a semester, where like we work in groups and do projects on social and environmental problems we are interested in. So we came to choose this topic because uh, I did it with Sida and Val, right? So at first, like we each pick one problem we're interested in each of our country. Like I'm from Thailand, Sida is from Singapore, China, and like Val is from Indonesia. So, but I think we end up getting interested in child marriage problem because of a TV series or something. I can't remember like what it is that like Val told us that there's like a some kind of TV series or show literally named like Child Bride or Child Marriage something, and like how it was very normalized in Indonesia. So we were like, oh, like why is this thing that like seems to be viewed as problems everywhere else somehow like got viewed as something extremely normal in Indonesia, and it's still a problem. Yeah, so I think that's like how we got interested in it. And then we start doing research, like just like looking at papers and stuff that like got published in the area, from like very old paper to like a very recent ones, and like government reports. And I think if I'm gonna characterize the process of doing this is a series of me getting proven wrong. I got proven wrong like a lot, like from the start to the end. But I think it's actually good because it's like it takes you to see like, okay, what things actually is. Because I think Sarah and like Vinama has already mentioned, but that like we all go in to study certain problem with like some assumptions or like background knowledge, or at least like what we think we know about this topic, right? But it's actually like we are just outsider, as long as like, oh, like I have no clue about Indonesia, I have no clue about child marriage. Like for did this project from Thailand, I have no clue about anything that going on there. So like the only thing I know about child marriage at the time came from like those published papers many years ago, and not like from real lived experience. So the first one, like I think one theme that came up the most when we look at papers is they often like link child marriage problem to poverty. So one question that people ask a lot in public policy is like, well, if the problem is like poverty, would child marriage completely disappear if everyone got rich tomorrow? If we pour money into the system, like what, give $100, 300, like $1,000 per family or something, like to everyone, would they still marry their daughters off? So I think that's one map that's very helpful. Like I think it is on National Strategy on Child Marriage Prevention 2020 from, I think, Indo government. And I think that map shows like uh child marriage rates by province in Indonesia. The one with highest child marriage rates is Central Kalimantan with 19.1%. So I would expect like, okay, like if this is the thing with the place with like high child marriage rate, I would expect like, or to be like poorest province or something. But actually by GDP per capita, it was actually above average in Indonesia. So that's when I was like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. It's not just about money. Like even if you pour money in, it's not gonna solve the problem. So we start looking for other uh projects. No, sorry, no, other like papers in the area. Like let me wait. Sorry, this is uh wrong slide.
We can also help you share screen if it
Oh,
helps.
it's okay. I think
If
this is
okay.
this is not the slide Val sent you, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I decided to use it for one. Just my Wi-Fi in the dorm is not that nice. Uh God, I hate power. But okay, yeah. And so like that start so we start looking at like other factors here. Okay, finally. And this is our system map, I think. It's loading. It's still loading. And it's still loading. Okay, so like we list like two root causes. One is poverty. Like I mean, it is still a problem, but it's not the only problem in the system, because if we view the whole thing as a system, like we have like several interacting factors and elements in the system. So like even if like you pour money into like poverty, like economic disempowerment here, like it's not gonna solve the problem. So we start looking at others. The other factor that came up a lot in our research is like uh culture, like religion. A lot of papers associate like Muslim culture with child marriage, which uh when I look at the map, I was like, yeah, that's also wrong, because RJ, that's like governed by Sharia law. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Had like some of the lowest child marriage rate in the country is like 5.3%, a bit higher than Jakarta, and like a lot lower than like Kalimantan. So we start looking at like each of these elements separately, and like, okay, like how it links to each other. That's how we got like economic disempowerment and lower educational attainment. Like we found like these other factors that also cause the problem or perpetuate the problem. That like, for example, like this economic disempowerment thing, like maybe if we pour in money, for example, like we give everyone cash, like that there are attempts to solve child marriage in other countries before by giving cash transfer, like literally going there and like give cash to people. But that's not super effective, because and what's more effective is conditional cash transfer, whereby like you give cash to people but on the condition that they keep their daughters in school for certain years to solve this low educational attainment part of the problem. So I think this like example of how viewing problem as a larger system can help solve, like can help like propose new solutions, I guess. And the other thing that I found surprising through our research is the part about laws of minimum marriage age. Like legally, child marriage, like globally, is defined as like you marry under the age of 18. But at the time, I think like before 2020, like I can't remember like specific years, but in the past, like Indonesia law say that allows marriage since people are 16 as like minimum age, which is below the threshold of like child marriage. But recently they just changed that to they changed the minimum marriage age from 16 to 19, which is already above the definition of child marriage. But the problem is we still have child marriage now. Like you can still see it now. So I try to find out like, okay, then if the law doesn't allow it, then like why? What happened? So we look at like interviews of people who actually go to court case in like family court, something like, to see like, yeah, what exactly the judge say in those cases. Like there are previous papers that study this before, and then we found out that even the law say that it left certain room of discretion to the judge, who are still humans and can have bias and can be affected by cultural norms. So that links to patriarchal social cultural norms here, that like I think in one of the cases the judge actually asked like the girl like, oh, like if you're married, you know, like what is the wife duty or something, which is like which reflects that there is certain norms around like gender role of like, okay, once you're married into certain family, you have to like uh practice certain roles, drop out of school, which links to this educational piece. Yeah. uh and yeah, I think this is mostly about our project, and then like if you're interested, you can go look at the slides. No, sorry, like the YouTube link on your own time, and like please feel free to reach out later if you have questions or are interested in the project. Then I think I'll hand over the storytelling part to Sida. Hi.
Yeah, again, thank you for the opportunity. And I think San did a great job trying to show how like system thinking kind of provides a framework for interpreting research and how, like it offers a way to conceptualize the kind of surprises that he has encountered in reading things. And then I think um, I'm gonna also share screen. There's this slide deck. So um, there, so a little more behind the scenes. Oh, does it work? Well, we have talked about how the student forum has started, and it became like a lineage of student system mappers, and then that became us, and of course we then led on to the 2025 winners. Um, but I think above all of that, we are all united by a passion for change, and I think that's something also define our education here at Wesleyan. Like, there's always this desire for something better, and we're not comfortable just sitting with what's given to us. So after we kind of brainstorm our topics, I wanted to show you this slide. It kind of shows like our original, like the first ever like system map we ever did. It's very messy, but this is the start of how like our final like fancier system mapping came. So the whole process is messy, and you should embrace that. And it also involves a lot of handwork, a lot of like just things you need to do on paper and using your brain. So there's no shortcut to that. Um, yeah, and another big part, and I think this is something that all system thinkers and people who wants to create a difference um, can think about is whether we have involved the voices of the people that we're kind of trying to help, and we can read all hundreds of research papers with researchers who know and does not know Indonesian or have been there, or we can try to find a way to go into the community, talk to the people. So in our case, Val generously did a few interviews with people she knows, and by extension of people she knows more people, and we got like a handful of interviews transcripts, and it's from there we can see the gaps that research papers don't cover. We see like the uneven like stories that people are telling that kind of defy the traditional like victim narrative. Um, yeah, so that is a big part, and that is something that kind of like um, structured our whole presentation in the end. When we kind of started looking at the transcripts, we started like going through keywords, we started identifying distances and patterns. And if you go to see our YouTube link, we also our presentation started with a story. Yeah. And so here are just more people, and just want to finally congratulate all of you for taking the step and thinking about systems, because you'll be joining like this global community of people. And like what we used to say, this is um, sorry, I'm trying to look for the slide that, uh, yes, yeah. You can interpret the complexity of problems and a will to challenge them. And then this is where you derive creative solutions, practical ideas. Yeah. And I think we can move on to Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much, Sun and Zita. Gita, do we have time to show the YouTube, or is it better to let the participants do it in their private time?
Okay, hold on.
This is Dewi. She was 15 when she was sexually assaulted, and within months later, as a result of her pregnancy and disapproval of her parents, she got married off. When we talked to Dewi, she described her experience as being in one tiny box without windows. But Dewi is not alone. 1 in 7 Indonesian girls got married before the age of 18, which means there's a total of 1.8 million child brides in Indonesia, making it the 8th highest in the world. No longer a daughter, what made Dewi a child bride? This is a central question we seek to answer in our presentation. There are root causes and perpetuating factors that makes girls more vulnerable to child marriage. The root causes include economic disempowerment and patriarchal sociocultural norms, while perpetuating factors include legislative loopholes and government inefficiencies.
The first root cause is economic disempowerment. It has been found that child marriage rates for girls from poor households can double that of their wealthy peers. This is particularly evident in times of natural disasters and economic shocks, when more daughters are wedded off to alleviate economic losses, resulting in the child marriage rate tripling. There are two main loops that poverty feeds into. The first loop is poverty education loop, a vicious cycle between poverty, low educational attainment, and child marriage. Poverty forces a child to marry, and once married, to drop out of school to serve household duties. An average of 6 fewer years in school deprives the child brides of employable skill sets and many other opportunities, rendering them economically dependent on their husbands after marriage. The children of the child brides are also typically born into poverty and have limited educational attainment, thus reinforcing this intergenerational vicious cycle. The second loop is poverty environment loop, a vicious cycle between poverty, environmental degradation, and child marriage. Poverty forces people to work in environmentally destructive industries, namely illegal logging and slash and burn agriculture. This results in inefficient use of natural resources and agricultural vulnerability to natural disasters, which are both cited as causes of regional poverty, inequality, and hindrances to island development.
Apart from economic disempowerment, the second root cause we found is patriarchal sociocultural norms. This manifests itself on a few different levels.
Okay, maybe it's better for us to head on and go to the Q&A session. Due to the time constraint, I think I'm just gonna ask the top question. This person said, when you interviewed child brides, did they get married willingly or even find it noble doing duties? Were they hesitant or maybe didn't really think about it? Oh yeah, I think this person is asking about since you interviewed a lot of
people, do you find like different case with these child brides, or do they have the same experience? Maybe that's what this person is asking. Maybe Sida or Sun can answer that.
Yeah, Val would have been the person to answer this question the best, but I think if I remember correctly, there are a mixture of all of that, um, all of those situations you talked about. There's no one narrative, and I think it came kind of at our surprise as well. It's like being in the US, you and thinking, about of this problem all the way across the world, you're like, oh my God, some people can easily fall into the tendency of, oh, these women, they're so sad. I really sympathize with them. They're like forced to marry and everything. But when we talk to people, some of them are like, "Oh, I wanted to do this," or I think this was the best thing I could ever done," or stuff like that. So and then of course there are people who also felt like, doing getting married early kind of inhibited further like personal and professional kind of growth. So there's like just a mixture of every story, and doing system mapping is to kind of like look past that distance on the surface to see, okay, what is the common like underneath? Like, for example, when someone says, oh, they're happy when they're married, or when they like this is a better choice, why is that the case? What are this kind of like the social structures that make this option like a good one? And then we get into the economics and the environment and also the social cultural kind of like frameworks. So I think I guess to make this into like a suggestion for future projects that you might all embark on too is to always embrace the complexities, embrace the contradictions, and look beyond that to see what even make these contradictions possible in the first place.
Yep, thank you.
I guess there's this one question who get to the top. Wesleyan, it says Wesleyan's culture seems like it embraces people who want to create a difference. How do you seek change when your institution is more conservative or rigid?
Yeah, I can take that. Thank you for the question. Yeah, that's very interesting. Like, because I think that really depends. Like, I'm from Thailand. My high school was a public school, and it wasn't particularly embracing difference. Uh, especially in like what like certain areas. Like, for example, like in my I think during my high school years we had like it was during COVID, but we had problems with like government corruption with COVID vaccines and stuff. Like the mask cost like crazy, and we had like dictator government for like what practically 8 years. And public school, which got funding from government, wasn't very happy that students protest. But I think it really depends on uh, what what kind of conservative or what kind of like challenges you're facing. I'm not gonna say like, oh, every like it's easy to change everything in every condition. Like that's gonna be a lie. So uh let me think. Like I think it depends on one, like how many people in that institutions have like also care about the same topics as you, and whether it's possible to coordinate some kind of action. Because if it's like I think one thing in like conservative institution is like, especially when they try to suppress opinions, a lot of people, there's a phenomenon called like falsified preference, where people like just avoid problem by like pretending to think the same as institutions, but that's not necessarily true. That's just like what they express. But in a more informal context, like everyone gossips, right? Like in game theory, somehow gossip is a very powerful like informational tool. When like you can organize something in like you can start with like something very informal where like the cost is low for you. Like you don't have to do like high risk things right away or something. And I think that's like a very bad case when institutions can go against you, like directly against you. But if you mean like conservative in a less suppression way, like they're not gonna help you change, like they're there existing, but like they're not gonna block you from changing, but they're not gonna help you in any way. If it's that kind of problem, I think you can reach out to people outside of your school, outside of your universities, because I think especially like when if you have passion for like a very niche specific topics where like only a few people work on, other people who work on it at other places would very likely be willing to help you and work with you. Actually, like for example, like you can keep like cold emails, like all professors or like activists or whoever like work on the same topic at other places and got support. Because in this way, like maybe you can share those resources. For example, like if your school doesn't have like if you want to open like have like entrepreneurship project, right? And your school doesn't have like seed funds where like they give you certain amount of money to start your project. You can find like universities that have those funds, like Yale has their own thing, I think, and like try to reach out to people who work on that project there and like maybe apply for funding together, because I think having people in institutions with those support can help you get access to resource, if that makes sense, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, San. Maybe for any other questions, unfortunately, we don't have the enough time. So if it's okay with you, you can share your email or any social media, can be LinkedIn, so that the people here can reach you out if they still want to get answers from you. But yeah, thank you so much, Sita and San, for sharing with us. I think it's really powerful and meaningful what you just researched about and shared with us. And I hope everyone here can take away and try to learn more about like embracing contradictions and so on and so forth. Yeah, thank you so much, Sida and San. If you have any other things to do after this, you may leave the Zoom call. Thank you. Okay, for everyone else, after this, we will create a breakout room for you guys to do a problem framing exercise. We already sent it through the WhatsApp link, but we are going to share it again maybe through the chat box. So yeah, I think the rooms are open. You can just choose randomly, or my team will send you to assign you to the rooms. But basically, you have to make a copy of the problem framing slide that we have given you, and we will try to work it together. I will re-share it again on the chat box. Hi everyone. I just wanted to check, are you guys ready or do you still need time doing your problem frame? Maybe a quick reaction would do. A thumbs up would mean you're good. Maybe still need time. Okay, you still need time, Safina. Understood, noted. Hi all. Are you still working on it? I wonder if it's okay if we go back to the main room first so you can talk a little bit about the topic that you picked for your problem framing, and then you can work on it later on, and then we will give you a form to submit it. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, then. Thank you all. You can share using Bahasa Indonesia or English, whatever is more comfortable for you. Maybe, Safina, do you want to share your problem frame?
Uh, okay, I'll try. I'll try.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I share my screen then?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Oh, can you guys see my screen?
Yep, it's visible now.
Okay. So I try to put marine ecosystems affected by mining activities as the core problems because uh I was a marine science student, so this is a topic that I feel like I feel like I can like talk about here. So uh the direct symptoms here I wrote increase in the extent area of coral bleaching and also increased turbidity in the water column, which which will eventually leads to apa namanya kayak terganggunya habitat di bawahnya gitu. Dan direct causesnya itu yang pasti illegal mining activities, especially in small islands, or even legal mining activities actually. Dan underlying causes, um, unregulated mining operations, inconsistent mining licensing policies. Karena beberapa bulan ke belakang itu ada isu tentang ini juga dan kayaknya tentang perizinannya tuh berubah-ubah gitu menurutku ya dari yang aku baca di internet atau di uh, news gitu. Dan contributing factorsnya uh, menurutku di sini dari sisi ekonomi karena the mining industry is a major sector that greatly influences the country's economy. Sebenarnya baru itu aja sih yang something that I can come up with.
Wow, thank you so much, Safina. You can work on this in a very short amount of time. And this is something that is new to me, and I would love to maybe get in touch with you to get to know further about this. And yeah, thank you so much, Safina, for sharing with the group. Maybe I'll have like one more person to share if you guys down. Maybe Anindyo Satria Krishna? Oh, Jasmine Marshanda, please. Yeah. Do you want to share?
Yeah,
Thank
wait.
you.
Okay. Maybe I'll share screen my screen first. Is it already visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Actually, just like short points. But the core problem that I want to know more is about the commodification of gender and identity, which I think the process itself by the gender expression identity is associated attributes that actually is kind of marketable for now. I hope it makes sense kayak uh, identitas gender dan identitas bahkan mungkin rasial itu being commercialized by many companies. And I think the direct symptoms is about the pink washing and the rainbow washing. I think in Indonesia itself, the pink washing is the most prominent one because the rainbow washing thing is still a great taboo here. And it kind of uh, I see that this is kind of a race of gender neutral product lines that I actually perceive it as a performative act that leads to commercialization of gender affirmation products. And it kind of leads to exploitation of our body image and insecurity. And the next one is about the direct causes. For the direct causes, there are 3 points. First one is the profit motive and data-driven marketing and personalization. I think this is like the highly segmented audience by the perceived gender and identity kind of lead to hyper-targeted and efficient commodification. And last but not least, growth of creator economy. And for the underlying causes, capitalist economic system, like all of us has know about. And the second one is the consumer culture and materialism. I think this is kind of core societal belief, which is heavily promoted by markets right now, that kind of led people to acquire goods and service as the primary means of expressing their true identity and self-worth. I think it's kind of unnecessary and yeah, and of course, patriarchal and cis-normative social structures. And for the contributing factors, there is like a deep integration of social media with the hyper-informative era right now. And of course, AI and data analytics and rapid evolution of gender discourse. This is like the accelerating public discussion and mainstream of diverse gender identities that makes it like visible, dynamic, and sort of trending topic, which is I think highly attractive to markets seeking the newness. I think that's all. Sorry if this kind of blurry and doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Oh, it make complete sense, I think. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for sharing with us. We really appreciate it and would love to get back to you again, guys. We will be sharing e-certificate for best problem framing and most active participants. So all your contribution in this webinar wouldn't be in vain. But as we are approaching 10 p.m. right now, it is wisest to close our webinar. Maybe before we say goodbye, it's better to have a little documentation. So if you can turn on your camera, it would be great for us to have a screenshot. I know it's a little bit late and everyone is tired, but I'm sure you guys look so great. Thank you for sticking until the end of the webinar. If anybody want to share their insights, their message, please go ahead. Does anybody else want to open their camera, or is this all? Hi everyone, it's nice to see your faces. Okay, so I think is it Salsa or Aima that gonna help us take the screenshot? I'm gonna count down from 3. Is it Aima? Are you ready? Oh, okay.
I'll take the picture, yeah.
All
Wait.
right. Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Once again. 1, 2, 3. Is there any like signature signs you would make for bridging lines or something?
Oh yeah, we talk about this. This is like
Okay.
connecting the dots.
Okay, sorry in advance, I cannot open my camera. Okay, 1,
That's okay.
2, 3. Okay, done.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for participating. I appreciate every single one of you. And before you leave, I would like to send a little survey survey link for you to fill out, so we'll know how to make this better in the future. But yeah, you can fill this up uh, when you're like about to sleep or when you wake up tomorrow, because I know that it's a little bit late, so I will send it through the WhatsApp group as well. But your feedback really means a lot to us. So yeah, please wait for the distribution of the e-certificate and all the awards. Let me know if we can accommodate your needs more, maybe like the LinkedIn endorsement and so on and so forth. Our DM and our email is open for all of you. Yeah, does anybody want to share anything before I close this meeting? If not, then you're allowed to leave the meeting room. Thank you all so much. Bye bye. I'll see you on another BG Minds event. Thank you, everyone.